Right. The talk of FOMO here. Now, before we get into it, because I do actually want to strive to be reasonable on this, but the immediate reaction is, why? Why? Because you're just going to spend a bunch of effort, you're going to do a thing, and then you're going to take the thing away, which then means you've just deleted all that effort that you spent building the thing, right? People will then feel like, oh, great. If I don't log in, I will not be able to do it again in the future. You think about features like the, what's it called? The Nightmare? The Nightmare mount that you do all the...
Lucid Nightmare?
Yep. The Lucid Nightmare mount, that's not a time-limited event. It's just a cool mount you can go and get through a big old thing of secrets and a puzzle at the end, or the deaths of Chromie, or, any of those little things. So what are, for what people are saying, oh, it's limited time. Cool, what little interest I had has evaporated completely. Limited time event, oh, would you look at that? All my hype and excitement went out the window. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why you should close your windows or get an excitement. Oh, fuck the joke. I'm abandoning it.
Mosquito net for excitement.
That's it. Yeah. So, all of this, completely understandable. Especially because we do not know why it is time limited. Now, the thing is, sometimes it makes sense for something to be time limited. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes it makes sense for something to be time limited, but then persist, albeit with diminished rewards or something being a little bit different. So it kind of depends on the design. Like if this is designed as a thing that you do before the war within, then maybe parts of its design would not be sustainable in the long term. Good example, the Legion pre-expansion event, with how quickly you could level your characters up. I mean, literally, you're getting 30 levels in 30 minutes. It was insane. And it, people loved it because obviously they were just getting levels. You're almost leveling your character and then thinking how much would all of this cost if I was buying boosts? I mean, there's that perspective too, but anyway.
That's a dire one to bring in, but yeah.
Yeah,
it's that kind of point in the discussion because it brings a little bit of the financial incentive directly to it, which is kind of
that side. I'm just making a joke.
Yeah.
On the FOMO thing, though, I think we could all agree that the pacing of that event, like the Legion pre-expansion, that was really good for the 2 or 3 weeks that was a thing. But it's probably not something that should be an evergreen feature of the game because that, as a source of experience, is way too competitive with everything else in the game. So if you left it in the game, that's the only thing that people would feel like they, they could do. So that's one example of sustainability in a game feature. You could say that, now this is, when I say you could say, I'm definitely not saying I am saying, but a good example would be not a good example, example would be the gold making you could do from your garrisons in Warlords of Draenor, where you were just printing tens of thousands of golds a week. It was mad.
Oh yeah, the brief period of time in World of Warcraft history that destroyed the economy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where that's an example, obviously not of a time limited event, though I suppose it was limited by, it getting tuned eventually, but that was an example of something that was unsustainable. Right, it was not a sustainable design, even though it was fun or engaging at the time because of the level of reward. So it's quite tricky when we don't know what this event is actually going to be to really judge this.
Yeah, I think I completely understand people going FOMO bad, right? Because FOMO is one of the patterns in design that is used, especially in World of Warcraft, especially in MMOs, it comes across as pretty bad.
Yeah.
Hyper specifically in MMOs in World of Warcraft, because people take FOMO to mean you have to do this thing now, you're pressured into doing it, or you will lose your, you'll lose the opportunity to get this thing, which is investment in the long term of this game.
Yep.
It's people aren't as mad at it when you look at, say, a rotating game mode in a shooter. Mm-hmm. Some people be a little bit mad. But,
oh no, when it was 2007 and Bungie changed the featured playlist in Halo, I was in the front lines.
Yeah, so I think there is definitely a case where you can have something that is a limited time and that's fine. It is there, it goes away. Now, if it's substantial content, it is frustrating if it's oh, I like that and it's going away. Or
what if I told you that your life was a limited time event?
I'm not going to.
Sorry, guys.
I'm not going to start talking about Persona 3.
Oh no! I'm triggered him.
But your life is a limited time event. You should make the most of it. Like with this, you should make the most of it when it's out, which is a problem because people will feel left out. And like, it's kind of difficult to defend it in the short term because all of the anti-FOMO arguments are so good and so strong and so like objectively correct half the time outside of your example of the sustainability being a problem. But I'm gonna I'll come in from a slightly different approach, which is I have been playing an awful lot of Blue Archive, a gacha game.
No.
And I'm so tired of events and I wish they would leave and go away. Because every 2 weeks there's something new and I'm like, please can I play the actual game, please?
Well, I guess like the whole business of gacha is basically convincing you that every Friday is Black Friday.
Not really, because like you don't really pay for much of the like very small amounts of it is like limited.
Okay.
A lot of it is like you just do it for ages or like do the story and it's like 10 minutes. But it is more in the sustainability element of you can get more resources or specific resources for playing this time. And it keeps things feeling alive. And that's another thing that I thought was interesting. I like, here's a big static experience, and it is static. I think that things moving in and coming out does kind of work for it. As long as, now this maybe it shouldn't be going away. Maybe there's a technical reason for it going away. But I think things shifting in and out of relevance is important in order to make something feel alive. Same way, seasons come in and out. You would want to do the same dungeons forever. And they're like, you can do 10 dungeons. You can do 15 dungeons. You can pick any dungeon you want in all of World of Warcraft. That's relevant. I think people would have mental breakdowns as a case.
Yeah. Like that. Okay, that is actually that's a fairly good example with with like the map pool of a Mythic Plus season. I think most people would agree that. There's a minutia to it. A good example, like Overwatch 2 tried to do some map pool stuff. It didn't really work out. With the size of their map pool and a few other things. But yeah, like if Mythic Plus was just, and we've added 8 more dungeons in the new season. I mean, okay, their design isn't built for that, so obviously it would break. But I think you get our point.
Yeah.
If a little bit of sort of limitation and focusing is. It is a valid part of how you design a game like this. The thing is, for a lot of people, they'll then sort of say or feel, and it's a totally valid way to feel, well, if I bought a normal game, and you told me a bit of it wasn't working, you'd be like, what the fuck? Right? Because that's how we're used to buying a game,
Yeah.
But it's different when it's a live game. And so then you can very easily use the analogy of the theme park. Ideally not with a ride breaking down. That sucks. I really enjoyed queuing for like an hour and a half for the Hagrid motorbike, only for the Hagrid motorbike to break down about 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
But it was okay. They gave us like a little happy ticket.
They gave you your time back.
They basically
here's the rewind button.
Yeah, they basically gave me that, so it was kind of worth it. But a theme park will add things, take things away, rotate them, do time-limited events like Halloween, Horror Nights, and stuff like that. And the change is kind of, at least from what I can tell with having, I suppose, some of my toes in the water of the theme park fandom, that's a really big thing for them.
Yeah.
Half of it's just people like, what, you took away Jaws, now I'm angry. But anyway, that's kind of rambling and weird, but change. Yeah, you can't just give people all of the options. In some instances, you actually do have to have a bit of focus and a bit of timeliness. One of the things with something like, why did Ultima Online feel so real to people? Well, in that literally, yeah, your life might have been a time-limited event because somebody could have killed you and taken your shit. But that was like the real level of stakes, and I suppose this like dynamicism in the world. Of course, it was very player-driven. Something like this would be more of a, but developer-driven. And to take a look at a live service game that's doing that fairly well, you just look at Helldivers, which is a good example of how they are, you could say they are changing their map pool, but to the players, it's not that. To the players, it's the war is changing what planets I have to go to and what's going on. They have all of their, dynamic game master stuff. So it's just to say that change is good. Sometimes if something is time limited, that can be good, but that gets, I think, completely screwed up. And I almost wish that I said this at the start of this little segment, because I think a perfect example, and even just bringing up Helldivers sort of brings it up in the mind, is the Battle Pass. Because the Battle Pass is like the perfect example of artificial FOMO. Like something like this, if they design something, they design its rewards, they design it to fit into this sort of period of WoW's players, and just whatever. They've designed it so that it is sustainable, maybe to last for like 2 months. Like that's one thing. That's like an intentional game design. When it's something like a battle pass where it's basically saying, hey, you bought this, fucking grind. Like that then feels way more malicious, because what they're trying to do is to get you to buy tier skips. Because wouldn't it be a terrible shame, Matt, if you got 93 ranks into your battle pass, but something happened in your real life and the battle pass is about to expire? I mean, for a low price of $15, you could salvage 50 hours of your work by finishing your battle pass by paying for it. So that's like why FOMO feels shit. There's like types of FOMO. Even think of the Cartman Land episode of South Park, or all of those like little places in a small town with amazing food, and people are queuing up there at like 5:30 in the morning to get a breakfast. That you'll see like a little YouTube like mini documentary on or something, and someone will just be like, I have been making these barbecue things, whatever, for 30 years, and they just become a local legend. And like, yeah, that's time limited, and it's like sort of time limited for a good reason. But it's when it feels like that is not something that is limited by sustainability, but it is used maliciously. That's the bit where there's a problem. So ultimately, this will hinge entirely on their design.
There you go. There's the conclusion. We could say that about almost anything we talk about in this the stream. Is just, and it all depends on how well they execute on their design, which is it's completely true. Like
My take is that if they fuck it up, it will be bad, and if they do a good job, it'll be good.
Fantastic.
Stay tuned for more amazing analysis.
Yeah, which is like, it might sound like we're kind of getting a little bit out of, just running in circles, or just kind of hedging our bets on nothing realistically, or somewhere in the middle. But it does ultimately come down to, it depends on how the experience feels, and if they can offer up a good experience of this is here for like a month or so, on we go.
Yeah.
But if it's like this available for 2 weeks and it has the best mount in the game, buy your sub now, then for people who feel that way, that'll suck.
And maybe in War Within patch 11.0.7, put an evergreen version of it back into World of Warcraft available via Time Walking NPC. And problem solved. People can do the gameplay, but if the reward bit is where you get the sustainability problem, then change the rewards, keep the gameplay so people can go and do it. As an example, the Scara Vaults. Do you need any of that shit now? No. Do I want to go spend, I don't know, like 2,000 or 3,000 resources, whatever it costs, to just complete the Scara Vault puzzle and get all the achievements? Yeah, I do want to do that. So, it's a way where, sure, the main reward's not there, but it's just an evergreen thing you can do.